Hello and welcome to the Riverfront Red Show, a part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. This is episode number 542 of what some claim is the world's most dangerous podcast, where we discuss, oh yeah, baby, the Cincinnati Reds. But specifically this week, their best draft picks of all time. With me to do so, some familiar faces. We'll start with up top. Chad, how are you?
Buddy, I could not be better. Happy to be talking with some friends about baseball.
I don't believe you. Chad, we appreciate you coming on here as the founder of the feast. We are also joined by the statistician of the Reds TV broadcast, my man Joel Luckhaupt. Welcome back, Joel.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course, I can't think of anybody I'd rather draft with.
What about me?
You're at least fourth on this podcast.
Fair.
To round out the panel today is host of the Redleg Roundtable Podcast, our guy, Seth Shaner. What's cooking, Seth?
Oh, not much, Nate. How's it going today?
It's going super well. I've spent too much time thinking about the Reds, so I poured myself a glass of wine.
Fair.
All right, before we get into the meat and potatoes here, I do have a quick announcement. Our guy, Tim Daniel, host of Late Night Reds here at the Riverfront, is hosting a live show coming up. It'll be on July 6th before the Reds-Tigers game down at Smoke Justice across the river in Covington, Kentucky. Word on the street is that our guy Seth here will be attending. Joe and Parker from the Welcome to the Jungle Bengal show are going to be throwing it down. Stephen Offenbaker and Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds going to be coming on. May toss back a couple cold ones while they're there. Who knows? And a host of other folks that will be making it a rad time. So go down there, hang out with the guys, talk some ball, have a beer, meet some great folks. All right, guys, we're going to do things a little bit differently today. The baseball product has been depressing, quite frankly, and I don't really feel like talking about it. So the gang here and myself are going to dive right into some viewer mail questions and then partake in America's second favorite pastime, a good old random baseball stuff draft. So let's do it. Viewer mail. No, before that, we at least got to do a vibes check. Guys, get it off your chest. Chad, we'll start with you. Just rant a little bit. How are we feeling? How are we feeling these days?
Oh, Nate. These Redlegs, I don't know, man. I want to get excited. I can't get excited. It's really been it's been meh, as they say. I mean, it's just been I don't know what to say. You caught me off guard here by asking for my opinion about the Reds on this Reds podcast. No, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. I mean, the injuries, etc., the dumb stuff that David Bell does, the silly things that everyone associated with this team seems to say occasionally. I don't know. This is not as much fun as we had last summer, and that's as much fun as I've had in a long time. This has been the most, not the most depressing season, because we've been through some bad seasons on this show. This podcast, I think our first episode of this show was in 2007. So we've been through some bad seasons. But I think we had more hope this year, and so it just feels, I don't know, man. There's still plenty of season to go. They can still turn this thing around. They're already have guys on the field that I've never heard of before. That usually doesn't happen until September. It's frustrating.
Yeah, it's not over by any means, but it's grim. Seth, how are the vibes in Columbus?
Oh, you shared something today that really made me even more sad, Nate. Somebody did the records if all the one-run games were reversed.
Yeah.
And the Reds would be 10 games over 500.
Yeah,
and in second place,
they had won all of the one-run games. Just if it was flop-flipped.
Yes. That's upsetting.
Brutal. One game out of first place, if that was the case. Yeah, it's been, last year they were incredibly fortunate in one-run games, and they finished 2 games above 500. So maybe there were some signs there that we could have pointed to that, might help us expect some of the regression that we've seen. Obviously, injuries happen, but whatever. Don't want to get too sad already. Joel, cheer us up.
I don't know what you guys are complaining about. They're 17-13 in their last 30. They're great.
Oh, yeah. See, there we go.
Always naysaying. Don't pay attention to their season-long record. Pay attention to my selective endpoints, please.
Yeah. Let's pick some arbitrary stats to support our argument.
Arbitrary. It's 30 games. I just picked those 30 games. It wasn't because they just were about to sweep the Dodgers. That's not why I started there.
Joe, why do they win the first game of series and get my hopes up?
I don't know. That's pretty flukish, isn't it? Like, it's crazy. They're really, really good the first game of a series.
That was
the funny thing is if they don't win that first game of the series, they are guaranteed not to win the series. They have not won a series yet this year. If they have not won the first game of the series, if they don't win the first game of the series.
Ooh, gross.
There was a stretch earlier when Ellie would go into a new city and they would do the press conferences with him. And I thought, boy, that really seems to get Ellie sparked, and he'd have a great game, like the first game in Dodger Stadium, for instance. And then maybe the rest of the series wouldn't be quite as good. And I thought, well, let's just do a press conference every game.
Yeah. It might be. It might be what he needs. He might need that little prodding.
Well, I don't know if this is good news or bad news.
Okay.
So I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but the Reds are up.
He froze.
Oh, no.
Oh,
he was going to give us good news, and he froze. That is so Reds.
Yeah, they're up 1-0. They're up 1-0. That's what he was trying to say.
Oh.
All right,
you froze right before you said this.
It was perfect, actually.
We need good news in Reds fanhood right now, and then you freeze right before you deliver it. That is the season in a microcosm, in a nutshell. Oh my gosh!
More good news.
Sorry.
Nate. Will Benson has a hit.
All right, let's go.
Are we just doing fiction now? Is this fanfic? I thought this was like a real podcast.
Yeah.
Well, who's negative now, Joel?
All right. Well,
I know they pay me to be there, but having to watch Will Benson this year has been tough.
It has.
Bad.
It's been super tough, especially for someone that we root for so hard. All right. Well, we got plenty of time for negativity. Oh, wait. We're going right into viewer mail questions. We'll find some more because our viewers are also Reds fans. And when they ask us questions, they tend to tell us how they feel. So as always, these come from our friends and family over at patreon.com. We'd love to have you join the family for as little as a couple bucks, as much as all the money in your bank account. We will accept all the money in your bank account. We don't advise it, but you can do it. No, we're having a great time over there just chatting about the Reds and trying to put the phrase misery loves company to the test. Our first question comes from Hooper Powell. Hooper says, if they continue on this pace, do they have anything to sell at the deadline? So I think the answer to that question is yes, but let's start with you, Joel. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think one thing that would be to their advantage, and I actually, where I post on social media now, have said that I thought that maybe the best move for them now is to get ahead of the market and trade the guys that have some value, partly for a couple reasons. One, the number of injuries that the team has had, I think, is going to hamstring it and is going to prevent them from really kind of having anything productive out of this season. I mean, I think you just got to admit that to yourself. The other reason is there's not going to be a lot of teams that are going to be trading major league talent this year. There's so many teams that are still consider themselves in the race that I think that, things may be a little overvalued. Now, that being said, I don't think they've got anybody that's going to get you future star players. Maybe somebody like Montas, you might be able to sneak a guy that is a higher talent than you would have expected. But I really think where they're full in the bullpen in terms of guys that could be traded. It wouldn't be surprised if a single person that was in the bullpen right now got traded, to be honest. And then guys, Frankie Montas, Jonathan India, Jake Fraley. There are some players that are not necessarily part of the core that I think that you could see dealt. But I think, just real quick, my number one goal, I think if I was making a deal, would be to get players that are in AA or AAA that maybe aren't necessarily going to be starters, but are going to be guys that will be filler for when we have when you have your injuries, which is what they don't have right now.
Yeah.
They don't have anybody to come up from AAA right now that's going to fix
That's
things,
why they're in the position they're in right now, for sure.
So it could be, the kind of players you would look at would be like guys that used to be prospects that maybe the shine has fallen off of them a little bit, or guys that are blocked within their current organization, that kind of stuff. But they're not necessarily if anybody's hoping they're going to get somebody like CES or Noel V. Marte this trade season, they don't have anybody that's the quality that's going to get that kind of return, I don't think.
No, not unless Montas goes on an epic heater between now and the deadline. Seth, you have some thoughts?
Well, Jonathan India has never, this would be the absolute best time of his whole career to this point to trade him.
Mm-hmm.
Like where he is right now. We thought he might be gone in the offseason, and really he wasn't coming off of that great a year last year. But this moment in time right now, if you were going to go down that road, would probably be the best time.
Do you mean just because he's 2 for 2 today with a single and a double?
Jeez.
I'm talking about the last.
More good news. More good news.
He literally, while you were saying that, was hitting a double into the corner.
He is on some kind of heat right now. But Seth's right. I just got done recording with a Yankees podcaster, and we had a conversation about could the Yankees look to target somebody like Jonathan India, because there's not a lot of production at second base right now. One other name I'll throw out there, Jeimer Candelario. Why not? He's knocking the cover off the ball right now. He can play a couple positions. I could see why he could be, somebody that's worth shopping.
The one problem with Candelario is that he is hurt. He's got tendonitis in his knee, and he's got that 3-year deal. And so I think that the concern for a team might be, well, if I'm trading for a guy that might be valuable to me this year, but he might be hurt right now, I'm not going to be willing to take on 2 extra years because he may not help me this year, kind of thing. So that's the one concern with Candelario.
That's a good point. All right, next question comes from Kyle Kapler. Kyle says, a month or so ago, I mentioned that this team is run by morons, and you disagree. Still feel the same, or is it just incompetence? Kyle's a fantastic Twitter follow. If you don't already, he cracks me up all the time. I won't go as far as to say they're morons, because they're all probably smarter than me, but they do a lot of moronic things. Is that fair? Chad, you take that one.
Well, it's fair. I guess what I would say is something that Joel and I talked about last week. And by the way, 2 straight weeks of hanging out with Joel. This is like the highlight of my life. Mm-hmm. Really, this is amazing.
I'm sorry, but that's your highlight.
The Reds are not run by morons. The baseball operations team, they're not the best baseball ops team in baseball, in the sport, but they're not morons. Nick Kroll is not the best I guess he's the president of baseball ops now. He's not the best. He's never been the best GM. He's not a moron. He's not an idiot. They aren't the best baseball ops department, but they are so hamstrung by ownership that I don't know that we can fairly judge them as to whether they're morons or incompetent or whatever. I just don't think we have the data to make a decision there, because they're operating with one hand tied behind their back. So I don't know. It's a good question. Kyle's always funny, but I don't have an answer.
I think that's about the only answer you can give. Seth, we'll let you lead up on this next one. Gary Hilliard. The Reds finished the first half with a 10-game homestand against Detroit, Colorado, and Miami. Do you think there is a chance the Reds could be buyers at the deadline? If so, what do you think the Reds' record needs to be at the end of the first half to make the front office seriously consider being buyers?
Well, my closest thing I have to evidence to this is a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they were in first place, somebody told me. And I really do like Sam Moll. I really do.
Love Sam Moll.
But this idea that trades could not be had at that time, and just because the guys that got traded that did end up getting trading, if other people might say people gave up too much, there might have been somebody else you could have traded for. There's so many moves they could have made while in first place last year, and I don't see this ownership group okay in that at all. So that's my guess. They could win the rest of the games before the All-Star break and might not make a move.
Yeah, I agree with Seth completely. I would love to be proven incorrect there, but I just don't expect that. The Reds are going to spend a lot of money. They haven't historically at the deadline. When they have, I haven't been super pumped about the moves they've made. Even if they're at 500 at the deadline or at the halfway mark, whatever, I don't see them doing much. Not when they have the built-in excuse of we love our guys. I got so mad last year. Nick Krall, everybody talks about the package that they wanted for Dylan Cease. First off, Nick Krall is the one who said what they asked for. You didn't hear that from anybody else. No other GM came out and said the Padres are asking for something ridiculous. 2, counteroffers exist. 3, what the Padres gave up for Dylan Cease in the offseason, I would have given up 15 more prospects than they had to give up. So they could have made the team better. They didn't make the team better. I don't expect them to do it, no matter what the record is. Rex Scott says, I said on our Slack channel recently that I've never been more discouraged as a Reds fan, and I've been following the team for over 50 years. Give me some reasons to regain my optimism, both for this season and for the long term. With the lack of depth, the ceaseless injuries, and the diminished enthusiasm of the players, I'm really not able to summon much hope or even joy. This is not fun. Well, Joel, since you were the one who brought all that, the sunshine and rainbows when we started this show, why don't you go ahead and see what you come up with here?
I mean, the injuries, I don't like talking about the injuries because it sounds like I'm making excuses, and that's not my intention. But it's certainly a reason why they are where they are. That being said, I still thought they were at best a 500 team coming into this season. Like, a lot of stuff would have had to have gone right for them to be more than a 500 team, or to be significantly more than a 500 team. So, I mean, I wish I had more than just to say losing Matt McLean was probably the worst thing that could have happened to this team. And then right behind that is TJ Friedel not being able to be who he was last year. Those two things, I think, were pretty significant harms to the team. On the plus side, like, the pitching is so much better than it was last year, like worlds better than it was last year, which is why it's really disappointing that they can't seem to score runs now.
Yeah, we're trying to rain down optimism here, Joel.
That's the best I've got. Like, if you want to, they're going to be a better team next year, assuming that they don't have any major injuries again.
This is what the Reds have done to us. They've broken us.
When your team is, I have a hard time making the argument that they are trying to do anything more than be a 500 team. And when you can't make that argument, then it's, it makes it really hard to be optimistic beyond, well, maybe they'll get lucky one year. Well, they were lucky last year when they were barely a 500 team. So. Yeah,
that's perfectly fair. I will say that we get to watch Ellie De La Cruz every day. Mm-hmm. So if you want something to smile about, cherish these moments while we can. Noelvi Marte makes his debut again. Whether or not you, whatever your opinion is on Noelvi Marte, he's good at baseball, and getting to watch those two on the same side of the infield is pretty cool. And since every team in baseball makes the playoffs now, the Reds aren't totally out of it. So a couple hot streaks, and if they can leapfrog about 9 teams, they could be in that 14th wild card spot, and we can watch playoff baseball for one of the few times in my life.
Right. You know what? The last time they were in the playoffs, before the second game was even over, I had to go out to my batting cage that we had in our backyard and just hit as many baseballs as hard as I could. That's how frustrating it was. So I don't know. Maybe I don't want the playoffs. I haven't had good experience with the playoffs.
That's fair enough. All right. James Urban says, what the heck is going on with this Reds medical staff? I feel like they're missing injuries left and right nowadays, which I don't think any of us can give a legitimate answer to this question, but it is mind-boggling how many times they seem to get it wrong or at least say the wrong thing. And now we've got Jonathan India, who trashed the staff in public. It was last season or the season before when they brought him back before he was ready. Some of that's on him, I guess. CES gets a second opinion, finds out he needs surgery. Matt McClain gets a second opinion. Turns out it's not an oblique, it's a labrum or something. Like, there's some bad doctoring going on, but I don't know enough about it to speak definitively. Chad, any thoughts on the Reds medical staff?
It's not been a good run recently, at least in terms of public statements and what's. Again, I'm not qualified to speak on it. And this is another instance where I always try to ask myself, kind of like the way we yell at David Bell a lot, because David Bell does a lot of dumb things. But I always try to remind myself, you know what? I don't follow the other managers around baseball as closely as I follow David Bell. And so I don't see all the dumb stuff other managers are doing. And they're all doing the same, not all of them, but most of them are doing the same dumb stuff David Bell's doing. Maybe it's the same with the medical staff. Maybe every fan base or 25 fan bases are frustrated with the medical staff. I don't know. I wish I had a better answer here. It has been.
It's frustrating.
There have been some high profile instances within the last 6 months where the Reds medical staff has, and where Reds players have demonstrated that they're not really confident in the medical staff. But I don't know. I went to law school. I didn't go to medical school.
CES getting cleared pretty much, and then saying, let me go talk to somebody else real quick, and then being like, how about surgery? Was a pretty bad look for those guys. I do want to say real quick about David Bell and other managers. I mentioned that I interviewed that Yankees podcaster, and he said that on their show they have a stat that they keep called WAM for Aaron Boone. It's called wins above a monkey. It's been a pretty good Aaron Boone year. He's at 3 wins, more than a monkey could have gotten if the monkey was the manager. So that's fun.
Hey, Nate, one of the biggest things with the medical questions or the David Bell questions is, forgive us for thinking that this multi-billion-dollar industry would have people making great decisions all the time. I think of that with the NFL sometimes too. The NFL is like so big, and yet some pretty crazy stuff happens with the league as well. And I made the joke the other day, and I'll say it as a joke. We were at the Reds game on last Friday, and Dr. Krimchek gave my son a baseball, and I was worried he might need Tommy John. So that's just a joke.
My 2 cents on it all is that every team wants to avoid surgery for as long as they can, because surgery is much more significant than we as fans tend to make it out to be. So I'm not forgiving them for that. I'm just saying that it's not. I think every team tries everything they can to avoid surgery unless it's completely obvious it has to be surgery. And the other thing is that you've got some of these athletes. I mean, I see this in other sports too, where they think they're better because they want so badly to be out on the court or be out on the field that they don't admit to the amount of pain that they're feeling, or they try to play through stuff, because there's also that macho aspect of it where they're expected to be able to play through some sort of pain. And so if there's, where you wonder is like, why wasn't there a scan or something that showed the injury for CES? But when CES is being told what we see doesn't show us anything, then he's probably feeling like, okay, well then I need to be out on the field playing through this. So it's much more, I think it's much more complicated than we give it credit for. It's always easy to say, well, why didn't they do surgery right away? Or why did it take this long to find it? There's a lot of ego and a lot of other stuff going on. So
yeah,
that's
a very fair point. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's end this on a positive note, this portion anyway. Joey Gadisa says the Riverfront family makes this misery just a little bit easier. So for that, thanks. You're welcome, Joey. I'm sorry that we have to do it. But now it's time to have some real fun, guys. Y'all ready to draft? I want to do some drafting.
Yes.
That's okay with you.
Sure.
All right. So we are going to do the draft picks draft. Today's draft is presented by SeatGeek, where if you use the code Riverfront, one word, you can get $20 off your first purchase. So shout out to the guy at SeatGeek. It's I don't need to explain how it works. If you've been to a live event, you've probably used it. So use the code SeatGeek, get $20 off, and thank us later. All right, so what we're doing here today is we're going to draft Reds draft picks by round. The MLB draft is right around the corner, so we want to have a little bit of fun with this. It's going to be a 6-round draft. So each of us must draft a player from each of the first 5 rounds, plus 1 wild card from outside of the top 5 rounds. All right. The goal is to pick the most talented team, and we're going to let the internet decide who won. Joel?
I have one bit of trivia question for you.
Ooh.
And this is one of my favorite trivia questions. A Reds draft pick is the only baseball player to appear in 2 or multiple episodes of Seinfeld. Who was it?
I know it.
Keith Hernandez?
Keith Hernandez is not a Reds draft pick, no.
I got it.
Keith Hernandez, he was an active major league player because Keith Hernandez was in a couple episodes.
All right, here it is, Joe. I got it for you. Danny Tartable.
Ooh. Everybody always says Paul O'Neill because he was a Yankee, but it wasn't Paul O'Neill. It was Danny Tartable.
First off, don't spoil my draft strategy here. Leave these names out of your mouth. No, that's fantastic. All right, so I went ahead and did. Oh, forgot to mention. The winner will receive a $1 gift card to the Chili Hut, which, according to one random website on the interwebs, was the 8th ranked chili parlor in the greater Cincinnati area. So take it seriously, guys. All right. So the draft order is going to be, I had it written down somewhere and I lost it. It is, it was Joel first, Seth second, then Chad, and then me fourth. I swear I wrote that down somewhere, but I don't know where that is now. I'm going to write it down.
Are you snaking?
We are snaking.
Oh, okay.
And then do I have to take a first rounder with my first pick?
You do not. You can draft in any order you want to.
But I'm only allowed to take 1 third rounder or 1 second rounder or so forth. Okay, gotcha.
Correct.
Well, then I will take Johnny Lee Bench.
There you go.
Johnny Lee Bench
from Bangor, Oklahoma.
Second
round pick.
All right, so I'm going to make note of this here. Joel's second rounder, Johnny Bench, pretty solid pick. You can't argue with getting what I would imagine is the best player.
That's good value.
That's very good value.
All right, so next up we've got Seth.
All right, so I've been through this way more, I think, than Chad has. And I'm going with, we have to pick rounds 1 through 5. I'm going with the shallowest round and taking the best player in that round. I will take Paul O'Neill.
Oh, you dog.
4th round, Brookhaven High School here in Columbus, Ohio. I am taking Paul O'Neill.
Had I had an earlier pick, that was my strategy too. So
it's a shallow round, guys. Whoever picks last on that one, good luck.
Yeah, that was tough. We don't need to focus on round 4 for a while now because it doesn't get a lot better.
Well, it's not any better than Paul O'Neill, I can tell you that.
No, it's pretty gross. All right, Chad.
All right, so this is a tough call, and I thought about going with Joel's strategy at second rounder. You know, Barry Larkin's out there, but I moved around. I tried to figure out where I was going to go, and I finally landed on. I am going to go second round. It's the 1976 second round. I'm going to go with Paul Householder.
Ooh.
Paul Householder.
I got to stop inviting Chad on these drafts.
No, listen.
Make the case.
We have a quote.
Marte.
It was in that dumb book that we wrote where someone literally said that Eric Davis in 1987, best Reds prospect since Paul Householder. And they also compared Eric Davis to Willie Mays. So I don't know why you're mocking me.
I just want to point out that in your second round choices, you passed up Stuart Fairchild for Paul Householder.
Oh,
I did. And I thought about Keefe Cato as well, but I went with Paul Householder.
You passed up Billy Hamilton.
He did. He cannot take comic book superhero Billy Hamilton now.
I was hoping no one would notice that. I did. It's true. So we're going to go with Paul Household.
He passed out somebody else too. I was surprised about.
Well, we'll get to them later. Let's not
two pretty big recent. I mean, all you did by doing that was help Seth and Nate and make me regret taking Johnny Bench already. That's all you've done.
I know.
Here I was.
It's worth it to me.
Here I was slacking on that pick. It had a lot of impact. All right, so I've got 2 in a row. My strategy is now it's gone because of what's happened in front of me. So I'm going to go with my round 1 pick as Barry Larkin.
All right,
a first rounder.
Why wouldn't you take that as your second round pick?
No.
I know why. I'm just mad. I'm mad at Chad.
Don't get mad already.
Chad.
You started.
I love it. Barry Larkin as my first rounder. You got some fun names in the first round, but I think when it comes to just the stats, Barry Larkin is far and away the best player in that first round, which leads me to my next pick. And this, I'm not going to lie, this is tougher for me than I want it to be because I got to pick between 2 of my all-time favorite Reds. But the goal here is to win the draft. I only have to beat 2 other people because Chad's here. So
what?
Don't do it.
Rude.
So for my pick in round 2, is Joseph Daniel.
Oh, I wore the shirt. Come on.
It had to be done. I was hoping that my strategy would play out to where someone would make this easier for me, where I could choose someone else. But alas, here we are.
I don't know what you're complaining about. I mean, you got 2 of the 3 best players.
But now Chad gets to draft Greg Sinatra from Miami-Dade College.
What?
All right, Chad, you're up.
All right, so I'm going to go back to the first round. And Nate picked Barry Larkin. He was the number 4 overall pick out of the University of Michigan. I'm going to knock that. Look, I'm going to go for the number 2 overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 overall pick in 1983 out of Thousand Oaks High School, Thousand Oaks, California. So, I don't know who Barry Larkin even turned out to be. I never heard of him after he was drafted. I'm going with Kurt Stillwell.
The original number 11.
Yes.
The original. Kurt Stillwell.
His number hangs in the rafters at Great American Ballpark. He must be good.
That's what I'm saying.
Tell me how I knew Chad was going to draft Kurt Stillwell before we even started this thing.
I wish I had known. I would have. Oh God, I would have done so much.
You all are killing me. You all don't understand the rules of this thing.
Y'all don't know ball.
What you're doing.
You don't know ball.
Y'all don't know ball.
All right. So does that mean now?
That is back to you, Seth.
So I could go one way and get the guy I love the most, but since we can only pick one person per slot, I've got another guy in that round. I will take Mr. Adam Dunn in the second round.
Yes, you will. It was difficult for me to pick.
I wanted you to pick him,
over Dunn.
But I'll take all those home runs.
I'm trying to win the draft. I want Votto, and I love Votto. I love Votto so much. But Adam Dunn he's like a superhero character to me. Great pick, Seth. Don't need to get in the stats. He's literally the greatest player who ever lived. All right, 2 in a row.
All right, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna take a second baseman.
Okay.
3rd round pick out of Carroll City High School, Danny Tartable, second baseman.
Ooh, he was on my list. I like that pick.
All right.
I like that pick. Hey, Danny Tartable stats. I need to get some Danny Tartable stats.
And now I'm gonna go local with my next pick. And out of Wyoming High School, I'm gonna take Jeff Russell.
No, he was my
round. 4th round.
No, wait.
5th round. Sorry, 5th round. My bad.
Not even on my list, so I'm not worried about that.
Oh, he was a great closer.
You got to have a closer. You don't. I may not have a starting staff.
No, well, we're only getting 6 players, so it's not as if.
He also has a super caucastic name. All right. Russell. Back to you, Seth.
Oh, man. I thought he was going to pick this one guy, and I was going to come in with another one.
So you still need a first rounder, third rounder, and a fifth rounder, and a wild card. You got options.
Well, we're going to stick with the number 44, and in the 8th round in 1985, Eric Keith Davis.
Oh,
or 83, 83.
I was hoping he would fall one more spot. Great pick.
And that was over a guy that I think might win me this draft if I would have picked him, but I just couldn't do it.
I want to hear more about that later, but I think that's really good value. All right, Chad, back to you. You still need third, fourth, fifth, and wild card.
Well, so I know I got Kurt Stillwell, but I still feel like I need another shortstop.
Oh, we always need more.
I don't know why. Yeah. So I'm going to go with a fifth rounder from 2004. We're gonna take Soft J.
Soft J.
Paul Janisch. Give me some Paul Janisch, please.
I like that pick. He was also firmly in my list. Get that as a fifth rounder.
Oh wait,
right?
hold on, wait. I picked someone that was actually on one of your all's lists. I think I screwed up here.
Can I get a redo? All right. We like that. Fan favorite, Paul Janisch. Amazing guest on one of our family's shows. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it. Probably not. You never heard of the host either. All right. Well, I got 2 picks. Still need third, fourth, fifth, and wild card. I'm not going to lie, guys. It gets pretty bleak after those top 2 rounds, doesn't it?
I told you today. What did I text you today, Nate?
This is pretty bad. I am going to go with my round 5 pick, and I'm going to pick Lenny Harris. Not a ton to say about Lenny, but I remember him fondly.
Barry Larkin's best bud.
Barry Larkin's best bud. I've got Larkin. Do I have Larkin? No, Chad's got Larkin. Do I have Larkin?
You have Larkin.
I got Larkin. So I got Larkin and his best friend. Like, you can't get better than that. He had a 273.
Jeff Treadway would have been Kurt Stillwell's best friend. So Chad could have had Jeff Treadway. How
about this? Lenny Harris. No, it's Danny Tartable. How do I click on Danny Tartable? Danny Tartable, career OPS in the 800s. Lenny Harris, 667. 269 average, though. And back then, average mattered a lot more. So my guy is a light-hitting friend of
Joe, what record did Lenny Harris have at one point?
Those pinch hits, right?
Uh-huh.
That's right. See, I got the clutch gene on my bench.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna have to go wild card here, and you know what? No, I'm gonna save it. Saving it. I'm gonna go round 3, and I'm gonna go with Randy Myers.
Wait, hold on. Randy Myers was drafted by the Reds?
He was.
I did not know that.
It was one of the
in the 3rd round.
I think it was one of those before the spring drafts back then, and then he played his spring season, and then he got drafted by the Mets.
So I missed out. I didn't miss out. I chose not to go with another nasty boy, but my bullpen's looking pretty good. All right, back to you, Chad.
All right, so I think I'm going to go with a wild card here. So this is someone who was drafted outside the top 5 rounds, and it's a name. It's a legendary name in Cincinnati history. I feel like I'm surprised he actually hasn't gone yet. But given that it's such a legendary name, I'm going to go with Larkin. I'm going to go with the 40th round pick in 1991, Stephen Larkin out of Moeller High School. How have you all missed? No one drafted Larkin?
I swear, we should have made it an exception where you only draft wild cards.
Okay, well, next time.
All right, back to you, Seth. Stephen Larkin, you're never coming back on one of these.
All right. Even though he made fun of me a little bit, even though he laughed at me at the Athens Mall when I went to get his autograph, I will take first rounder Rob Dibble, 1983.
Rob Dibble. There are some names in that round that you went with. One of my all-time favorite Reds, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I wanted to get the other nasty boy that you took, but just didn't get it done.
I'm not sorry at all. Okay, so Seth, you still have a third and a fifth to go. We are back to Joel, who still needs a first, fourth, and a wild card. You got 2 picks, Joel.
I'm going to take my wild card and take an outfielder from Denora, Pennsylvania. 29th rounder.
I like
Ken Griffey.
I thought you might.
And his 600 home runs. Right? That's that Ken Griffey, right?
That's the one. I think
he's got his multiple rings, so that's something his son didn't get.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic pick. I was hoping he would last. Well done. Who's next?
And then I'm going to take my first rounder, and I will take high schooler out of Oroville High School in California, Gary Nolan.
Okay.
Oh, underrated.
Ooh, I
That's
love
an
it.
underrated pick.
If Chad was taking,
And you know what?
Nolan.
We have better medical care on my squad, and we will make sure that he'd
be a Hall of Famer.
Well,
He should have been a Hall of Famer.
I'm surprised you didn't take the other guy that could have used better medical care in Don Gullett.
I'm more of a Gary Nolan. I like strikeouts.
What year was he drafted, Joel?
He was drafted in 1966. He was their second first-round pick.
Okay.
The first being Bernie Carbo, who they took before they took Johnny
They
Bench.
took 2 people before they took Johnny Bench.
No, they took one. They took one. 65 was Johnny Bench's draft. 66 was Gary Nolan.
Yeah.
Let it be known here on the Riverfront podcast that Joel, the Gary Nolan guy,
He's a Gary Nolan guy. Kudos. Tip of the cap.
Well, I mean, I'm a good pitching guy.
That's a man who appreciates a certain vintage. We like that about you, Joel.
Also, I'm looking forward to having my teenage battery starting in Johnny Bench and Gary Nolan. Last time the Reds had a teenage battery was Gary Nolan and Johnny Bench.
You keep talking like that, I'm going to have to put an R rating on this podcast. My goodness.
He started 32 games as a 19-year-old. Wow.
Incredible.
2.58 ERA.
And then they sent him to the dentist because his arm hurt.
I once read a bit about Gary
Nolan.
Nolan.
That's literally true. They sent him to the dentist because his arm hurt. That's literally a true story.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
It's tinnitus, right?
I love it. All right, Seth, you are up.
All right, so I need my third rounder and I need my fifth rounder. I will take Aaron Boone, 1994, third round.
I was wondering how long it would take him to come off.
He was on with Tim Kirkshin and his son on their podcast, and they were Tim was telling the story about how Aaron gets thrown out of a lot of games. Of course, we know David Bell does as well, but Aaron, of course, got thrown out of his first game as a player in the big leagues as well, and that was pretty funny to watch at the time.
He is also notorious for being part of a tracking system on the George's Box podcast where they rate wins above monkeys. That's going to crack me up.
Since we're talking about Aaron Boone, I just got a notice through a service that I get notices from when interesting things happen. So the Reds started the third inning with 3 straight doubles. So Spencer Steer, Nick Martini, and Noel V. Marte. And it's the first time the Reds have started an inning with 3 straight doubles since July 1st, 2002. Barry Larkin, Aaron Boone, and Adam Dunn.
Wow. What? In real time, we're getting Joel being the stats guy.
Yes.
I love it.
I'm just saying, we are all fired. Joel, this is your podcast now.
Joe, what I'd like to do is have the four of us just start a Slack channel where you just dispense with those nuggets to us.
I will send you my rate.
I love it. That's incredible. Also, shouts to Noel Marte for extending that hitting streak.
17 games.
There you
17. Go. You know what's going to be funny is he's going to hit 150 in AAA, and then he's going to come up and be a 300 hitter right away. You just know it's going to happen.
As the Reds march to the playoffs, baby.
Yeah,
we're back.
We are
so back.
That's unrealistic. They are 17-13 in their last 30, and they're winning 5-2 right now. Anyway,
all right, Chad, your next to last pick. You still need a third rounder and a fourth rounder.
I do. I also need Joel to text me whatever that service is that he alluded to. I need this service.
I think it's called
third and fourth round. Third and fourth round. So I'm going to go with third round right now, and I have sort of a personal connection to this one because. So I was at a game. The whole family, we went to a ball game at the Great American Ballpark, and I don't remember what happened in the game, but I know after the game. We were driving out of the parking lot, and we nearly almost hit some guy on a bicycle trying to cross the street illegally.
Mike Lacoste.
Close. It was Tony Cingrani. We nearly killed Tony Cingrani, so I'm going to take him. He was a third rounder in 2011. The Reds literally took Tony Cingrani in the third round in 2011. I almost killed him. I did not kill him. And he went on to be probably the best left-handed Reds reliever of all time. So we're going to go with Tony Cingrani.
You know what? With the options available to you, not a bad pick at all. He was certainly on my list. All right, so I've got two.
What?
That's upsetting to Chad again.
Sorry,
it is. I don't like that.
He's pretty far down my list. Makes you feel any better. I mean, the lists are only so long once you get to some of these rounds. They've only had a handful of picks. All right, so I still have the fourth rounder and a wild card. So I'm going to draft both of those now and round out my draft. So for my wild card, I am going to go. I'm going to go with Reggie Sanders.
Mm-hmm. That's a good pick.
You know, nobody can really complain about that. I think we are the loudest beaters of the put Reggie Sanders in the Reds Hall of Fame drum. If that doesn't happen, he will forever be in my draft picks draft roster. So pretty solid consolation prize for Reggie. Hope he feels the appreciation. So that leaves me with only round 4 to go. And I'm not going to lie, guys. It's pretty bad in the fourth round. And I'm glad that this guy fell to me. So thank you for not drafting him. This is going to be a name that isn't super familiar with a lot of our listeners, but it's very familiar with me and people that know I'm a fan of the Hefty Boys. I'm taking Ruben Ibarra of the Daytona Tortugas. He is will probably never make the major leagues. I hope I'm wrong on that, but he is huge and he hits balls a long way and he's really fun to watch run the bases. So Ruben Ibarra, you make my team over some random dudes that I've barely heard of.
I thought you were going to take Jason Kendall's dad.
Fred. Yeah.
I didn't know. Fred Kendall's Jason Kendall's dad?
I'm pretty sure he is.
Look at me pretending like I have heard the name Fred Kendall before.
I thought you might take Eric Owens, who I met alongside Chad Matola at the first ever Reds Fest.
Well, hold on now. Let's not spoil too much. Two of y'all still have fourth round picks.
Chad Matola, famous in Reds history because
Derek Jeter.
Because they took him instead of Derek Jeter.
Yep. Put him in
Chad Matola's in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, it worked out.
Okay.
At his high school in Florida.
He's a hitting coach somewhere, isn't he?
He was with their Diamondbacks for a little while in the Blue Jays, but I don't know if he still is.
All right. Chad, fourth rounder to go.
I have a fourth rounder, and I'm going to take a guy. You all probably haven't heard of this guy, but I've done some research, and so I know about him. He was the fourth round pick for the Reds in 1967 out of Torrance, California. Fred Kendall, Jason Kendall's dad. I'm taking Jason Kendall's dad, Fred Kendall. I call him Freddie Kendall, but that's who I'm going with.
I like it. So Chad's approach is to get a dynasty league where he also gets the progeny of his draft picks. And
I should have drafted Griffey.
Yeah, you can trade. One of your slot bucket picks.
What? Rude.
All right, Chad rounded it out with Fred Kendall. All right, we are back to Seth. You have a 5th rounder to go, my guy.
Yeah, so my choices here, there were no once Joel took Jeff Russell, who was my guy. There just isn't much there. I could go with the guy that made that catch to save Mark Burley's no-hitter or perfect game, I forget which. But I will take, we used to love him, then Johnny Cueto kicked him, Jason LaRue.
Good call.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good pick, especially this late in the draft. Man, that's a tough ending to his Reds tenure, Jason LaRue.
Well, he was a Cardinal then.
He was a Cardinal.
So that was the tough ending for him.
That's true, but he got traded. Like, it was a trade, right? Wasn't his choice to go to St. Louis?
I think it was his choice to go to St. Louis.
I think he chose.
He deserves everything he got.
I still don't feel good about it, but I feel slightly less bad.
Let's see. Let's look at his
That's
transactions. He was purchased by the Kansas City Royals from the Cincinnati Reds.
Purchased
free agent, then signed as a free agent with St. Louis.
Where did you get that hat so quick?
3 different times.
This guy. For people that are only listening and not watching, keep it that way so you don't get angry at Chad.
So when we finish
All
this,
right.
I'd like to throw in a few little nuggets. Joel, do you have a last pick? Is that
my last pick?
What round are you
this
from?
guy was ready in the bullpen.
Joel's got a 4th rounder to go.
Oh,
he was ready. He was ready in the bullpen.
He was. Yep.
In one of the most disappointing moments in Reds history.
Oh.
He was ready in the bullpen.
This was
significant because in his career, he came into a game with the bases loaded 18 times. And of those 18 times, only 1 base runner scored. And he was ready in the bullpen with the bases loaded in 2012. And Dusty Baker chose to stick with Matt Latos. And now Sam LeCure is on my squad and on Bally Sports Ohio when he could have been a hero. And it hurts me. It hurts him. It hurts everybody in Reds land. That the guy who was made for the one situation that he was ready for was not brought into the game. Sam LeCure is my 4th round.
Such a trickle-down effect there, too, because had he been called into the game and had he performed well, had his legend grown, we might not have to listen to him on Bally Sports Ohio.
I will say this much. He and I actually literally just talked about this 3 days ago. And I said, well, it was still Buster Posey at the plate. You could have still given up that home run. And he said, maybe, but I wouldn't have.
There you go. I love it.
All right. Make me love you, Sam LeCure. I apologize for speaking ill about you.
But he came in the first game, right, when Cueto was hurt. And he kind of held it over until Latos came in an inning or 2 later. He really stemmed the tide in the first game, but of course it just caught up to them eventually.
It's just so funny, and it's so typical of Reds history, of recent Reds history, that the one guy who historically is better than anybody in history that we know of at getting out of bases loaded jams that he didn't create. And you didn't bring him in the most important bases loaded jam in Reds history, recent Reds history. So,
yeah.
If you want to bring it back to current events, it was like obviously nowhere near the stakes, but I got so frustrated with David Bell a few days ago when he brought in Lucas Sims, I think, when Fernando Cruz was sitting right there, who's been lights out with inherited runners this season.
What did Lucas Sims do on his first pitch? I forget in that game. You talking about in that Brewers game?
Yeah, I also forgot on purpose.
Yeah,
that's why I opened that bottle of wine.
Yeah,
Nate, could I share a few of my research tidbits? I didn't realize the Reds drafted Nick Markakis twice.
Yeah,
and he never signed with them. If I hadn't gotten Eric Davis, I was going to take shortstop Trevor Hoffman in the bonus picks. He turned out pretty good, and certainly Scott Williamson, friend of Redleg Roundtable, he was a 9th round pick. And then Bobby Witt Sr. was actually a Reds draft pick. I never realized that until today.
Dad, what are you doing?
I think that Nick Markakis might actually have the most hits by any Reds draft pick ever. Because
wow.
Oh my! That's incredible. That actually may be true. Joe may have actually.
Yeah, because he's got like 40 some. He's got 48 more hits than Barry.
That's crazy.
Wow, he does.
Wow. I looked it up. Yeah.
And like, who else? I mean, who else would it be? Like, there aren't a lot of 2,000 guys with 2,000 hits.
No.
Yeah.
Not
Joey.
the Reds.
Joey had.
I was going to ask that, but I didn't want to feel like an idiot if he wasn't anywhere close to Barry.
He's
buddy, I'm
21-35. 21-35.
Wow.
Markakis was what, 23-88, and 23-40.
Wow. All right.
Well, I mean, we've always said on this show, Joey Votto is no Nick Markakis.
No,
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's been the stance of most Reds fans throughout history.
That's actually true, unfortunately.
Nobody took this guy.
I don't know who that is.
Homer Bailey?
High on my list.
Bailey.
High on my list. All right, let's run through our teams real quick. We'll go one by one. I have Barry Larkin, Joey Votto, Randy Myers, Ruben Ibarra, Lenny Harris, and Reggie Sanders. Chad, who'd you end up with? Did you even keep track? You want me to read them all?
Yes, I kept track. Are you kidding me? My first rounder was Kurt Stillwell. My second rounder was Paul Householder, obviously. Tony Cingrani in the 3rd round. Fred Kendall, again, father of Jason Kendall, is my 4th rounder. Paul Yanish, soft J, 5th rounder. And then the GOAT, Larkin, as my wild card. Stephen Larkin.
the other bald one.
Billy.
All right. Joel.
My first rounder was Gary Nolan. Johnny Bench was my 2nd rounder. Danny Tartable, my 3rd rounder to play second base. Sam LeCure is my fireman. Jeff Russell is my relief ace. And Ken Griffey Senior is my I've just got him for his progeny as well.
Fortunately, he was also pretty good at the baseballs.
Yeah. A lot better than Fred Kendall.
I won't listen to this slander. I won't listen to the Fred Kendall slander on this show.
We don't know what Stephen Larkin's kids are going to do yet. There's still time.
Hey, listen, you're mocking me, but Kurt Stillwell. You can't deny Kurt Stillwell.
I think
is that what KC stands for?
What does KC stand for?
Kurt Stillwell.
Something like that.
All right, Seth, who'd you end up with?
I like my team a lot. 1st round, Rob Dibble. 2nd round, Adam Dunn. 3rd round, Aaron Boone. 4th round, Paul O'Neill. 5th round, Jason LaRue. And Eric Davis was my wild card.
That's a pretty good team. Getting that Eric Davis pick, that Paul O'Neill pick was what really set you on a trajectory.
Yeah, that was
a shallow pool. It was a shallow pool.
Yeah, a couple names that did not get drafted. Jay Bruce in round 1, Hunter Green. You mentioned Homer Bailey, Bernie Carbo. We mentioned him, and Austin Kearns. Round 2, I had Sabo Oliver, Matt McClain. Yeah, well, Andrew Abbott. Throw him in there if you want to. Round 3, Raleigh Eastwick. I thought could have been a fun pick for somebody. Wasn't. Oddly enough, in my top 5 for round 4, Ben Lively, current stud for the Cleveland Guardians.
Unreal.
Which is wild. Paul Bacco, and then Trevor Hoffman, Tucker Barnhart, Tom Browning, Justin Turner for some other.
Did you say Chris Sabo?
Chris Sabo.
Did I say Sabo? I did not say
round 2.
Tonight's Red starter, Andrew Abbott.
Yeah.
Guy's got a Virginia hat on. Didn't even pick Andrew Abbott in the 2nd round.
Andrew Abbott, baby.
You could have tried to pick all Virginia Cavaliers and seen how far you could get.
I mean, it's really pathetic that you picked Paul Householder.
What?
There are so many other like joke players that you still could have taken from the second round, and you picked the worst of them.
Joe, us actual employees of the Riverfront can't get away with such slander, but you can. Thank you.
I don't have to.
I'm being attacked.
I think I was set up for this. I think this was a conspiracy.
You got the first pick, man. Come on.
I got the first pick
Unreal.
because I was set up because I didn't realize that Chad wouldn't take it seriously. And if I had known
What? How
Thanks
did
for,
I take it seriously?
Thanks for letting us know you don't listen to every
Thanks
episode.
for the downloads, Joel.
You might have known. All right, we got to call this thing a night. It's ran longer than we expected, and I got a wife that's going to fight me. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it. Thanks to everybody for listening and supporting the Riverfront. We are going to post these results online. I will come up with that graphic and send it out tomorrow. Let us know who you thought won. Let us know how hilarious you think Chad's attempts were. And if you have any questions, anything that we did not get to today, I know we didn't dive deep into the current events with the Reds, but if there's anything you would like discussed, please join Patreon, follow us on Twitter, send us a message at Riverfront Cincy, or shoot us an email, team@riverfrontcincy.com. We'll get back to you. We'll talk about it on here. We'll talk about it online. We'd love to chat with you. All right.
Reds lead 7-2.
Reds lead 7-2. Screw the Cardinals, most importantly.
Oh.
So, shouts to Adam Dunn. Shout out to Lis Alberto, to Wayne Krenchicki, and Eli Cash. For Joel Luckhaupt, for Seth Shaner, for Chad Dawson, and for Stephen Larkin, this is Nate Dawson saying so long, Cincinnati.